The consistently challenged and frequently banned book To Kill a Mockingbird, written by Harper Lee in the 1960s, was admired by some and disliked by others. The critics of the novel attempt to recruit that the book expels racial slurs through use of the N-word. They explain that the book should not have used a profane language, but instead should have inserted something less aggressive. The admirers of the book retreat that the book embraces the issue of the United States history during the time frame of the book, which is mid-1930. The book captures the racism of time period where Negroes not considered as whites equal. The book embraces and solidifies the wrongfulness of racism and how frequently it was endured during modern days. Children and adults alike were affected by racism in the early 1900s, and though unfortunate, it is part of America's history and our previous culture. And it is important to understand how older days were and contrast them to today's society. Knowing America's heritage and how times have changed is essential to our learning pupils for the purpose of realization, embracement, and proper understanding of early racism and how it impacted our heritage in today's society. Knowing what happened many years ago allows our children to understand today's differences and how our ways have changed for better. We have to know our past to prepare for a better future. Since its release date in the 1960s to today, the book is considered to be an American classic. Harper Lee received the Pulitzer Prize for the novel, as well as prideful recognition, though reconcile followed with as much negative recognition as positive. In every scenario, the book was challenged for its use of the N-word, racial complexity, and violence. It was challenged once for use of using rape into a novel that children read. The largest fuss accumulated from the book was in Biloxi, Mississippi. The public school system in Biloxi, Mississippi banned the book for uncomfortable language in 2017. There is some language in the book that makes people feel uncomfortable, and we can teach the same lesson with other books. The school board vice principal, Kenny Holloway, cited to the Sun-Herald in regards to the book. His banning of the book was public and highly regarded. Many disagreed with his banning, as well as his disapproving publication of the banning to the Herald newspaper. In response to Kenny Holloway, the Secretary of Education under President Barack Obama, Arne Duncan, reached out to followers on Twitter, expressing her objection to the banning. She encouraged followers to purchase the original copy of the novel, expressing on Twitter, "When school districts remove To Kill a Mockingbird, we know we have real problems." Another disapprobation was Senator Ben Sasse. He reached out to admirers as well as digressing his view for the book. According to Time, Senator Bass explained, "Our kids are tough enough to read a real book. These two people are respectable and admirable figures of our government. I think their opinion should govern a high rein in the way we visualize what our children read and learn." They both admit to the idea that our children are not frail, and especially in today's society. Another analyzing school board was in 1984, 24 years after publication. The school district in Wangan, Illinois, banned the book for its plotting of rape. The NCAC, National Coalition Against Censorship, a nonprofit organization that attributes to civil liberties, literature, and education, sent a letter to the district officials in Virginia, urging them the right to education in the First Amendment and to disregard the complaint they had earlier that week in regards to eliminating the book To Kill a Mockingbird. A parent from the Virginia School District complained that the book was demeaning and inappropriate. The novel, created by Harper Lee, was set in time of the Great Depression. It embraced youth, race, morality, and teaches a lesson. Critics may see the book as undignified and objectifying, but admirers see it as a creative expression of past events and a prominent part of our history. The book itself does not undermine those of color, but examples more so how they were mistreated and viewed in the time setting of the early 1900s, 1930 to be exact. Blacks were not viewed as equals to whites, and they were used as slaves and not given freedoms or rights. The book's setting is in Macomb, Alabama during the Great Depression. The Finches, a white family that consists of a girl named Scout, her brother Jim, and their widowed father Atticus, who is a successful lawyer. The Finch family is considered rather well off considering their time of era. The kids lure out a house that they walk by daily called the Radley House, where an older black man, Boo Radley, lives. He never steps outside of his home. The kids swear that the house is haunted, and they tell their father their opinion. He replies by telling the children that they should consider others' feelings before they make judgment. For a successful white lawyer, this is a shock. The kids simply dismiss the advice that they should be considerate of others. Their cook, Colperina, took the kids to a black church where the children enjoyed the music and preaching. The black society church embraced and enjoyed the children being there. Soon after, Atticus attempted to explain to the children the meaning of affection towards others despite color. A black man, Tom Robinson, is accused of rape a white woman named Mayel Ewell. In reality, Mayel was caught by her prejudiced father, Bob Ewell, with Tom Robinson in a romantic manner. She was humiliated and shamed because of the time interracial relationships was highly frowned upon and was considered a complete embarrassment for the family. Atticus, the lawyer, took the case. Atticus supplied the jury with sufficient evidence that proved that Tom was innocent and that the bruises on Mayel's face was caused from her violent father, who struck her when he caught her romantically involved with Tom. This humiliated Bob Ewell, and he grew hateful even though the court went in his and his daughter's favor. The jury was composed solely of a white jury, and of course Tom Robinson was convicted. He later attempted to escape prison and was shamefully shot. Because Atticus Finch took on the case in the first place, he and his children suffered major ridicule. When walking home from a party, Jim and Scout was charged by Bob Ewell and attacked. He hurt Jim severely, and in the midst, Boo Radley came to save the children and stabbed Bob Ewell fatally. He then carried Jim to the home where his father, Atticus, and the sheriff were. The sheriff knew the truth and made it out to be as if Bob Ewell tripped over a tree limb and landed on his own knife. After all, the racial issues are seen by Scout, the attack, lying, murdering, and wrongful convictions, she then realizes what her father said was accurate. She feels that she can imagine what Boo's life is like, and through that realizes that her father's advice to practice sympathy and understanding is to be endured. Her experience of hatred and prejudice was enough to realize that love and respect can come from anyone despite what color, and hatred alike despite it be your own race or another. All in all, the novel demonstrates expressive and true qualities. It examples how times were in past history, which is important for our children to be aware of and understand. Through scholastic lexile and the Band Challenge book article, the novel is said to be for 7th and 8th graders, middle schoolers. It attributes to our past and explains how history has changed. Our children are old enough and mentally prepared to understand the book and not take it as an excuse to use profane language just because the book does. It is an important asset to our history how racism really was, and our young people should be knowledgeable for the simple fact of appreciation and how times are now, and the fruitful perspective to how bad modern days were during tragic times, like during slavery and the Great Depression.